So you're thinking about moving to the Treasure Coast of Florida. In this video, we're going to show you some areas of Fort Pierce, Florida. And we're going to be talking about the pros and cons and the good, the bad, and possibly the ugly of Fort Pierce, Florida. That way we can help you make an informed decision as to whether or not you may want to move to Fort Pierce and to the city of Fort Pierce or the surrounding areas in any way that we can. So if you just stick with us to the end, this will help you to know if Fort Pierce is the right place for you. If this is your first time visiting the channel and you want to know more about living on the Treasure Coast of Florida, then subscribe below and tap that bell so you can get notifications and be the first to know about what's happening here with the current market on the Treasure Coast. I'm Donald Nally and this is my wife,
Katie Nally. You know, we get calls every day from people just like you, so feel free to reach out to us. All of our information is in the description box below. Whether you're moving in just a few days or you're moving in several months, we'll be happy to help you make a stress-free move to the Treasure Coast of Florida.
And we're going to show you today about some of the cities of the Treasure Coast. And one of those cities we're going to talk about today, we're going to do the pros and cons of Fort Pierce, Florida. So now let's hit one of the pros about Fort Pierce, and that is the downtown area. Notice when we're talking about Fort Pierce here, we're talking about the city of Fort Pierce and what's in the confines of the city boundaries, because Fort Pierce encompasses a really large area, and there's a lot of different communities in Fort Pierce that spread out over a lot of landscape. And we'll be talking about some more of those communities in other videos, but right now we're just focusing on the city of Fort Pierce itself and what all that entails. And one of the greatest pros about Fort Pierce is the downtown area.
Yes. Fort Pierce has been awarded many awards for being the cutest, most attractive, most idyllic downtown area in the country. Reader's Digest said so in 2015, and many other places. Donald and I have enjoyed Fort Pierce so much because it has a downtown that borders the Indian River Intracoastal, which makes it so attractive. And for that reason, they have a farmer's market every Saturday morning. They have a green market every Wednesday afternoon. They have many activities there. Groups come, musical groups come to play. And at Christmas time, they have dancing lights. It's a lot of fun for kids.
4th of July coming up this week. They will have fireworks down there shooting out right over the river, which is always beautiful and an experience. They also have the famous Sunrise Theater, and the Sunrise Theater, it attracts artists, famous artists from all over the world who come and perform at the Sunrise Theater. And also, did you know that the Sunrise Theater has a summer camp for children? They do it twice a year. They have a camp where the children come at 3 weeks at a time who are our next generation of aspiring artists. And they have these camps and they use professional directors and everything. And at the end of those camps, they put on a live performance where the public can actually come and see, and everything's professionally done. So that way, if you have children and you're thinking about moving to this area and they're aspiring young actors, the Sunrise Theater could be the right place for them. Another good thing about Fort Pierce is the diversity of restaurants. I guess we could call this a pro, because if you're a pro eater like myself, then you would like a variety of foods. In downtown Fort Pierce, mostly all the restaurants are locally owned. They're family-owned establishments, and they've been around for a very long time, with the exception of a few franchise places like a Subway and a Dunkin' Donuts. But let's talk about those locally owned restaurants. You have the 2nd Street Bistro, which has a huge menu selection with a variety of different foods. We have ate there several times ourselves on different occasions. But you also have the Fort Steakhouse. Now, the Fort Steakhouse is unique because in 2022 and 2023, it was designated as the best restaurant on the Treasure Coast. And what makes it so unique is that they source locally owned beef with no antibiotics, no hormones. Everything's 100% natural, pasture-raised beef, pasture-raised cows, so that you know when you eat in there, you're getting top quality meat. And we also have Cobb's Landing.
We have 12A Bowie, which is a great seafood source, and Chuck's Seafood, of course. We have On the Edge is a great restaurant that borders the Intracoastal, so you can watch the boats come and go as you're eating.
Yes, and you also have that's on the way out to the jetty, but also in the downtown area, you also have Krabby's, which is a seafood restaurant. It has a outside eating space that just overlooks the marina, very beautiful. And almost all these places, we've ate at them, so we're not telling you something that we haven't experienced ourselves. They also have a coffee place downtown, Old Florida Coffee, where they grind their own coffee there. They import the beans, they grind it, and it's just special brew coffees, a taste of Old Florida. And so, but on the west side of town, if you're more into like franchise places, fast food places, you can get over to the west side of Fort Pierce, that's closer to 95 and the Turnpike, and you will have all your franchise restaurants like the Golden Corral. They got Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, McDonald's, Cracker Barrel, yes. And they have Starbucks out there. So it all depends on what your taste and what your flavor is, but you can find something for everyone here in Fort Pierce. So let's talk about one of the cons of Fort Pierce. Like most cities, it has its good areas, it has its bad areas, and it has its problems. And one of those problems is the reports that came in over the past about crime.
Yes. Crime is something that has been reported on Fort Pierce. Well, you know, if you look at the year 2008, that was a year when we experienced a financial crash in this country. Well, there was a high crime in Fort Pierce at that time. If you consider that there was low commercial activity in Fort Pierce at that time, I think you can understand that you need jobs in order to keep people away from crime. Now, if you look at it over years, ever since 2008, crime rate has gone down, down, down year after year. And the commercial activity has gone up, up, up. So as jobs have increased, crime has gone down. And that is a great thing.
And also in 2015, there was an independent study where it ranked Fort Pierce as one of the worst places to live, one of the worst places to visit, and worst place to vacation in the whole country. But all that has changed now with all the development of the downtown area, all the commercial building that's been coming back, businesses coming back to the area, and the economy is booming here because, like my wife said, jobs are being created, opportunities are opening up for people. And when you got opportunities and people can go out and they can actually earn an honest living, and that's what's helping turn this con around actually into a pro. So let's talk about housing in the city of Fort Pierce. And the reason why I say the city is because Fort Pierce has a lot of outlying communities, but within the city, the housing is unique and different. And my wife's going to tell you about some of that right now.
Yes. What you'll find in Fort Pierce is that there are a lot of older homes. It's an older city. And so with older homes, you get a lot of character and interest. Some of them have been updated, some of them have not. There are areas where doctors and lawyers and bank presidents lived, and so those homes tend to be large but older and not always renovated. So it does bring character and interest to the area.
And the one thing about these homes, and most of the homes in the city of Fort Pierce, with that character, with that charm, they're not cookie cutter homes like you find in a lot of the communities that's going up in the modern housing market. So every home is unique, different, it has its own charm, because back when these houses were being built, they didn't have floor plans laid out and where you could pick this model or pick that model. So mostly everything was drawn out and then built by different builders. And also up in North Fort Pierce, there's a lot of smaller houses, a lot of smaller land lots, and you can't build some of these tract homes on these smaller lots. So you may have to look around for a custom builder who can come in and design a home that will fit those lots. And again, because everything is unique and different, you'll have a lot of character, charm, and you could have a house built that no one else is going to have one like. That's the beauty of Fort Pierce and the housing. And another thing is that the houses does not cost as much as in other areas, especially in the north part of the city where there's a lot of distressed properties that are in serious need of some TLC. So it depends on how you look at it. That could be a pro for you or that could be a con for you. It depends on your taste and what you're looking for in a home. Because if you're an investor, you might want to come in and buy a home that needs rehab. But if you're looking for a move-in ready home that's all modernized and everything, you might have a hard time finding that in the city of Fort Pierce. Now, to move on to our next subject, we're going to talk about parks, recreation, and the beaches. And Fort Pierce has plenty of parks, recreation, and beaches in the area here.
Yes. South Hutchinson has their own beaches, which are great. But North Hutchinson has what we consider our favorite, which is Pepper Park. We like Pepper Park because there is plenty of parking, plenty of connections over to the beach, walkways. There is two bathrooms. One has showers for men and women. And there's a play area for children right out front of the bathrooms. Down the end, there's tennis courts. There's big areas of tennis, picnic tables, which people just love on holidays. They sign up for them well in advance so that they can bring the whole family out for the day. It's just a very interesting spot.
And as you're going into Pepper Park, there's also a Navy SEAL museum where they do trainings over there. You can go in through the museum and check out all the interesting stuff in there. And coming back towards Fort Pierce from Pepper Park, because Pepper Park's only a few minutes outside of Fort Pierce. And coming back, there's also a state park that you can go in, which you have to pay. But you go back in there, it's really beautiful, tranquil beach, not crowded, same thing, plenty of picnic areas and all that other kind of stuff that comes with the beach life. And then you also have the Fort Pierce Jetty, which is on, Pepper Park is on North Hutchinson Island. On South Hutchinson Island, you have the jetty out that way.
Yes, and the jetty is just a great spot. People love it. They go out walking in the afternoon there. Lots of people like to fish down the end of the pier. Because there's fish around, you see many pelicans, so there's swing seats along the way and little picnic tables, so people love to sit there and watch the boats go by, watch the pelicans, watch the fishermen.
Yes, and speaking of boats, there's also a lot of marinas in Fort Pierce and around the area where you can get your boats into the water. Yes. And just go out onto the ocean. And also coming out from the jetty, you can also go to Causeway Cove Marina, which is on one side of the road. Then on the other side, you also find more beach area, which is on the Intracoastal Waterway on the inlet of Fort Pierce, where the inlet comes in and where the ships come in. And that's where you will see that gigantic big boat lift over there that my wife can tell you a little more about.
Yes, just within the last few years, they brought in what is called the Derecktor. It's a huge crane that lifts up these very large luxury yachts. So, you know, this has become a new industry for Fort Pierce, where a lot of this kind of work was done, has been done in Fort Lauderdale, but they couldn't seem to handle all the work that was demanded down there, so some of it started coming up towards Fort Pierce. And that's been a great thing for Fort Pierce.
Yes, and because like we said earlier in the video, see, that's a strong pro. That's a strong good thing in Fort Pierce, because it provides more and more jobs and more opportunities for people. So Fort Pierce is really a lovely place to come to visit. It's a lovely place to come and live. So here we are right now at the Lawnwood Medical Center, and we're going to talk about the pros of the medical center here in Fort Pierce. And so here we go.
Yes, HCA Lawnwood here is a great hospital. They're not only a heart institute, they're a level 2 trauma care center here with helipad. There's a stroke center here, and it also has a level 3 neonatal intensive care unit. Beyond that, they have 24/7 emergency room services, pediatric emergency room services, and a full range of medical and surgical inpatient and outpatient services. So if you're thinking of moving to the Treasure Coast and you're concerned that maybe you would like a good hospital nearby, you're covered here in Fort Pierce.
Now that we're back from our field trip to the Lawnwood Hospital, we're going to get into our last area, which is schools and education. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about that right now. I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
Okay, Fort Pierce schools come under the leadership of St. Lucie County. It runs Fort St. Lucie and Fort Pierce. So once a student is determined which city they're in, then by zip code it's determined what area they're in, and the parent gets to choose one of 3 schools. And out of those 3, they will be given one of those choices. Beyond that, there are 6 public charter schools now. And you may ask, what is a charter school? Well, a charter school is a school that receives public funding, but it operates independently from the local school district. So, and those are choices we have. There are some that are K through 5, some that are K through 8, and some that are K through 12. Beyond that, we have high schools here, and we have 6 high schools in the St. Lucie County. In Fort Pierce, we have 3 public and 3 private high schools. The 3 public high schools are Fort Pierce Central, Lincoln Park Academy, and Westwood Academy. And the 3 private would be John Carroll High School, St. Andrews Academy, and St. James Academy.
And out of those 3 high schools, the public high schools, Lincoln Park Academy is top of the list. It's an A average school. And then you have Fort Pierce Central High, and then Westwood. But the thing about Westwood right now, they have totally tore down that whole school, and they're redoing everything out there, and they're building a whole new campus.
Yes, we'll do a deeper dive into the schools in another video. If you have more questions, you can call St. Lucie County School Board 772-429-3930.
If we was able to help you today, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications so that you can be the first to know of what's going on here on the Treasure Coast, but also like and share the channel. And don't forget, you can contact us through the contact information that's in the description, because we are both Florida licensed realtors, and we're here to serve you and to help you. And until next time, this is Living Life on Florida's Treasure Coast.